Be willing to let God use you in ways that you may not have ever thought of. I remember going to the oncologist and hearing him tell me that I had cancer. And I knew in my heart that I was going to trust God, whether I was going to live or whether I was going to die. My life was in His hands. Well, about 12 years ago, I started having some abdominal pains. And I used to be in the medical fields, and so I didn't think it was anything and thought I had analyzed myself enough, and it was nothing. But my wife said, you need to go to the doctor. So I finally gave in and went to the doctor. Well, the doctor decided to did an x-ray, and well, nothing looked abnormal too much. And so she wanted to send me for a CT scan. But the insurance company says, no way, there's not enough proof to give them a CT scan. So waited a little bit longer and got an ultrasound of my gallbladder, and that was negative, and some other blood tests, and that was negative. And so the next step was a colonoscopy. So I went and did the colonoscopy, and after the colonoscopy got done, the doctor always comes in at the end to talk to you, and he says, well, I couldn't get through there. So we need to do some further tests and figure out what to do, or what's in there. So I took a sample, and I'm going to send it off to the lab. So they did that, and after that, it was probably a couple weeks after that, they told me that I needed to have colon surgery to remove what was in there, because it was cancer. And then they said, well, let's go back and do a PET scan, which is a scan to check and see if there's cancer anywhere else. Then they told me, well, you also have it in your liver, 3 spots in your liver. And we need you to go to a bigger city because we can't handle that here. There was luckily somebody that lived in the area that my wife could stay with my son, so because I couldn't, it was going to be a while I was going to be in there. And I remember going to the surgery and of course praying to God, saying, God, once again, whether I live or whether I die, it's all for your glory. That's the only reason. Then after that, I had to start chemo. The most important prayer that I prayed during this, say it like a breakthrough prayer during this time, is, God, don't save me for myself. Save me for my wife and my children, because that's more important. Because I know if I do die, that she's going to have to live on and experience life. And that's what God changed my life. And I also remember one time, there was an Indian woman that I could tell she was very emotional. And I said, do you want me to pray with you? And I could tell that she probably wasn't Christian, maybe Hindu or something like that. And then I said, well, I want to encourage you. I want you to know that it's not as bad as it may seem. I've gone through, this is not my first time, it's my 3rd or 4th or 5th time getting chemo. And you're going to do okay. And she smiled back at me. And every time I saw her there, I smiled at her as well. I said, God, if the only reason you have me here getting chemo is to witness to her, I thank you for that opportunity. It's when you're at your lowest point and you realize that God is the only support you have. You can't depend on your money. You can't depend on your strength or your mental capacity. You have to depend on God. That's when you really realize how close He is. It's been 12 years now since I've been cancer-free. And my doctor, my oncologists, as well as my surgeons, never thought I'd be alive today. The verse that helped me get through this was Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans that I have for you, plans of hope and a future. It definitely gave me a strength to not give up, not say, Lord, I'm just going to die. It gave me I guess it was one moment at a time. It wasn't day by day. I couldn't even make it through a day. It was moment by moment that I know He was there with me. And I didn't see it lots of times. Lots of times I struggled. I have a story of faith, but there was lots of down times as well. but knowing that God can lift you up out of those down times into those good times. Just keep holding on. My message for someone who may be facing this is that to keep holding on God. Sometimes we can't understand. Our human minds are so weak, and we cannot understand as God understands things. And his true motive and goal is for us to be in love with him, and he loves us so much that he died for us. And he died for your loved ones, whether they survived or whether they don't. And I know all stories don't turn out as mine. I know many, many don't. And I had many friends as well that didn't make it. But I know that God still loves you, and he's still in control, and will see you through the rest of whatever God has in store for you. I know after my cancer, I said, God, use me, use this story. Only was able to tell it once at the church that I attended at the time, and haven't really shared much, yes, to people, but not in a public sense as into helping others through the dark time that I went through, so that they can be encouraged. And I hope this does that. I hope this encourages others that may not know where to turn next. You can always turn towards God.